33% of Americans believe in reincarnation, and 80% of Americans believe in life after death. And the majority of people who have had a near-death experience, that is, when a person dies and they have no heart rate, but somehow remarkably come back to life, those people also believe in reincarnation and consequently also have no fear whatever of death. I'm Dr. Wendy Hill, and I am known as the Uncommon Therapist. Uncommon because I take my clients back in time to childhood, infancy, the womb, and even into past lives to identify those core beliefs that cause overwhelm, anxiety, depression, relationship issues in our current life. Since I was a child, I have had so many questions about the nature of reality, why things are the way they are. And maybe you've had some of those questions too. I'm going to share them with you in a moment and see if you've had the same questions inside of you that I have had. Minutes. So if you are thinking about doing a past life regression, stay with me here for a little bit. So I'm going to share with you what I know about reincarnation, karma, past life regression, how you can experience a past life regression in the most positive, productive way. So here are the questions that I have asked repeatedly. Have you ever wondered why it seems there's so little justice in this world? Why there is so much suffering? Why an innocent child dies before he's had a chance to have a full life? Why animals suffer? Why some evil people don't get punished and live lives of power and wealth? Why children are born with distinct personalities, attitudes, and health issues? Why some accomplished people never get acknowledged, not even by their families? Why you have a déjà vu? Why someone who's led a healthy life suddenly dies for no apparent reason? Why someone who's led a good life suffers great emotional or physical pain? Why you may have an unexplained feeling that you know a complete stranger? Why you mysteriously know something you have no reason to know? Why some are born with unexplained knowledge and talent? For example, why is a child at 5 years old able to play Mozart or quote Shakespeare? Why someone will have irrational fears or phobias? So all these questions that you see here, I have asked repeatedly. And by the time I was 20 years old, I began to have an answer, the answer that brought me some peace of mind. And here was my answer: reincarnation and karma. Both of these together answer all of these questions, give a rationale and an understanding so that one can accept the inequities, the unfinished business, the suffering that is in this difficult world. So even physics seems to support reincarnation and karma. It seems to go parallel with, here is the physics law of conservation of energy. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed, but only changed from one form into another. You are an immortal being. You do not die, you transform. You have many lives. Physical life is the stage upon which you play many, many roles. So in one life, you might be a shaman, another life, a warrior, one life, a mother, another, a father. So many different roles, millions of roles to play in this world. To me, you are like a budding flower whose destiny is to become a gorgeous bloom, just like these flowers. Through past life regression, you can transform your current life, raise your self-esteem, and experience greater well-being. I want you to thrive. You may, during this presentation, have an epiphany or have a reminder of something that you already know, and see what you think and what you feel. And maybe you will have that epiphany. Bring your own passion for a better life to your listening right now. I want to thank those who taught me and inspired me. There have been so many people, but these are just a few that I want to share with you. And Milton Erickson brought to this country hypnotherapy. And he taught me in his training that imagination is perceived by the subconscious mind as a reality and can be used to transform perception and heal. Carl Rogers, who was one of my professors, kind of took me under his wing when I was in graduate school. And he taught me that to have courage to be authentic, to experience and give love. He taught me that the most important thing that we can share as humans with each other is the love that we have in our hearts. Carl Jung, who I never met, great psychiatrist, said you cannot heal any psychological wound only by treating the symptom. You have to address the original cause. Hence, we go back in time to find out where your heartache, where anybody's heartache began. And Paramahansa Yogananda, who in the 1920s brought to America the Self-Realization Fellowship and taught the power of meditation and the spiritual laws of reincarnation and karma. Brian Weiss, who wrote Many Lives, Many Masters, brought past life and current life regression to mass consciousness. And Albert Einstein told us that there is no conflict between the laws of physics and the existence of God. Now, as I was doing this, creating this program for you, I noticed that my mentors didn't seem to be a lot of women. So for you females that are out there, I want you to know that you can be a mentor. And so I had to add a mentor, a female mentor, and here she is. This is me as a girl. Myself as a girl, I want to thank for growing into the adult who found the courage to believe in herself as a female and to be honest and direct with her feelings and beliefs. So thank you, young Wendy. You have had many lives, perhaps millions. Physical life is your opportunity to learn and to grow. You are subject to the laws of karma, which are the laws of cause and effect, action and reaction. Einstein's third law of motion is that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Do you notice that these laws of physics parallel with the laws of reincarnation and karma? What you say, do, think, feel, and express all have consequences. Every thought, feeling, emotional deed has consequences. You raise or lower your self-esteem by your own actions, emotions, thoughts, and beliefs in each lifetime. It is not some outside entity or God that judges and rewards and punishes you. It is yourself. You are your own judge. You reward and punish yourself, and that is on a soul level. Your journey through your many lifetimes is to come to know your true self. 87% of Americans have compromised or low self-esteem as a result of not knowing their true self. Your ultimate destination is the full realization of yourself as whole and as the embodiment of unconditional love. That is your true self. Your true self is absolutely wonderful. As you evolve, you become more conscious, more aware of your true self as a spiritual being, as a soul, that your body is temporary, but you are not. On your journey through many lifetimes, you've done good things, you've done bad things, you made mistakes, you've loved, you've been loved, you've hurt others, and you've been hurt by others. This is the nature of life. Your mistakes have robbed you of your self-esteem, and you have suffered by your own judgments as a result. The purpose of your self-inflicted suffering is to learn. So after death in one life, you carry into your next life those unconscious experiences, habits, and decisions you made. So those old boots that we thought throw away, we carry forward. And I'm going to share with you how we do that. You will incarnate into an environment, circumstances, and with parents that reflect those core beliefs, your deepest, deep down soul core beliefs about yourself, about others, about the nature of reality. I'm going to tell you a story about Allison and how this manifested. So Allison came to me with a terrible habit of alcoholism. And she said over and over again that I just can't get through this. I just can't seem to beat it. It is stopping me in having joy in my life and being productive and being successful. Now, she in her current life, as we did regression and inner child work in her current life, became clear that she had parents that were also alcoholics. So it was quite natural for her being around alcohol and seeing that role model that she would also have that habit herself. But she wanted to know more. So we went back even further into her past life. Her soul self took her to a life where she was an alcoholic. And she would go to the pub in England every day rather than facing her everyday problems in life. That person that she was drank. And when that person died, took forward that bad habit into her current life. Now, what this insight gave her was a lot to think about, that she could maybe realize that she could face problems, that the problems that assailed her in that life no longer existed, excepting for this habit. At your death, you will experience that which reflects your level of awareness, a realm that rewards you with the consciousness that you've achieved for better or for worse. Now, immediately at death, you may experience a great release and freedom, because after all, then we're released from the limitations of our physical body. And you may encounter spiritual beings, someone that welcomes you or those that welcome you. You may have an expanded awareness and experience incredible unconditional love. And you may also encounter people and animals that you've known. And that's a wonderful thought. So that the animals that you've known that passed on, people that you've known and passed on, you get to see again. On rare occasions, you may be given the choice to return to your physical body. It's called a near-death experience, known in short as NDE. Now, I mentioned this a little earlier, and that is near-death experiences where you physically die and remarkably come back with no brain damage and memory of what it is like to be dead. And I've done studies on hundreds and hundreds of studies on people who have had these experiences. And I have had clients who have had these experiences as well. And they give us some very powerful clues. So I'm going to tell you about Richard, who chose to come back from death. Now, Richard, and he came to me years ago, He was an electrician and he was working on a military base. He was hired and accidentally got electrocuted and he died. And the EMTs came to resuscitate him and they worked on him for 40 minutes, 40 long minutes, where he had no respiration, no heart rate. He was dead. And while they were busy attempting to resuscitate him, he was experiencing death. Now, they stayed with him as long as they did because they knew his wife and knew that he had young children. So they continued working for 40 minutes before he actually came back. Now, what Richard told me is that when he was dead, he went down a tunnel and began to experience this great bliss of unconditional love. And at some point in this wonderful experience, he was given the choice is to stay and continue on or to go back into his body. And he told me that he did not want to go back into his body, that the bliss that he was experiencing in death was something that he never experienced before and did not want to leave. But he remembered that he had small children and made the choice to go back. And when he did, he told me he immediately found himself back in his body that was in the process of having been electrocuted, and every muscle was in spasm. Remarkably, Richard had no brain damage, and he lived to tell me the story. You made decisions in this life and in past lives that have become your core beliefs. Deep down inside yourself, your core beliefs, your subconscious mind, and your soul self. Your core beliefs were stimulated and or formed during high impact moments in your childhood. So whatever core beliefs and habits you had can be re-stimulated in this life. In your past lives, you were influenced by many things: your environment, your family, community, the era in which you lived, your gender, race that you were, your culture, the society in which you were, your religion and education. So many things, not just your parents and your immediate family, and most certainly your experience influenced you. Now, into each life, you have carried your core beliefs, which are evident in your relationships, in your habits, in your emotions and thoughts, and your behaviors. You can see them. These core beliefs taken on in previous lives awaken during your childhood and infancy. Past and current life regression can offer you the opportunity to move forward in your personal and spiritual growth. You can heal past trauma and your response to it, and by doing so, change negative karma, and that's called burning karma. Now, a word about false memory, because people will say, well, what I remember, is that actually real? Did that actually happen? Both in this life and in past life regression. And I always treat whatever memories come up as real, because there's nothing that your mind can invent that doesn't have to do already with your core beliefs and your soul self, whether it be symbolic or real. And we treat it as real, that we get results. There are 5 essential healing, karma-changing steps in past life regression. The first is remembering, and that is called regression. Going back in time to this life or a past life is called regression. And having those memories, seeing where you are, what's happening, what you're experiencing. Then the second step is understanding. What did you decide? What impacted your experience and your environment and your family and all that was going on in that life and in this life do to you? What did you decide about yourself? And what patterns of behavior came from that? By that understanding, you already are beginning to understand how you can change yourself in the present. The third step is acknowledging and expressing the emotions that happen. at that time. So you might find yourself feeling sad or angry or shame or upset or afraid. And expressing those feelings, very important to make that connection and that link. The next step is where we use your imagination even more. And that is communicating to that person that you were in that past life, the wonderful truth that is being revealed to you by doing this process. I'm going to share example of that in a few moments. And the final step is accepting in your mind, body, and spirit that wonderful truth that might be something like, I am worthy, I am safe, I am loved, I am capable. So the first one is remembering, regression. Going back to a high impact moment in time when you made a decision that then became a core belief. So Jeff remembered in a past life regression that he was the son of an American Indian chief. He was very young, maybe about 14 or 15 years old. And he was sent out to hunt for the tribe for food. So he set out, and on his journey out, he saw a prey. It was a deer with prongs, horns. And instead of killing that deer, unfortunately, that deer gored and killed him. And as he was dying, he had the horrible sense of guilt and thought that because he wasn't able to bring home this prey and help feed the tribe, that he was contributing to the starvation of the tribe. And he died with this burden in his heart, in his soul. The second step then is understanding what you decided about yourself. So as Jeff watched his past life, he realized that he decided that he was guilty. There was something terribly wrong with him. So in this step of understanding, you understand what patterns of behavior, thinking, and feeling you took on. So Jeff learned that he decided that he was responsible for the starvation of his tribe. So in reality, the tribe did not starve as a result of his death. And so he was able to see that, and that guilt and that remorse began to lift from him. The next step is acknowledging and expressing the emotions that you felt at that time. And amazingly, you can do that. So Jeff actually, as he watched his past life, and as he watched and felt the grief and remorse that he felt, he began to cry. And in those tears that he cried, just a few minutes worth, the healing continued. Jeff automatically grieved for his loss of self-esteem. The next step is communicating the positive truth that has been revealed to you in your past life. So for Jeff, was then worthy, and he no longer needed to carry that burden. He had a pattern in his life of carrying a burden of other people's problems that were not his to resolve. By doing this, he was able to release and release that pattern. And the next step is accepting, and your mind, body, and spirit, the positive truth about yourself. In Jeff's case, that he is worthy, that he is innocent, and he allowed himself to have that feeling, that acceptance, that reality. In a past life regression, you may experience what you look like, who you were, what you did, people, places, experiences, decisions, high impact events that occurred. You may also experience your death in that life. And you may experience what it was like between lives. You may understand things that you did not know before. You may recognize people in your current life that you also knew in a past life. And a wisdom beyond your previous understanding. Michael knew his current boss in a past and terrifying life. When he came to my office, he was visibly shaken. And he said to me, I don't know what's wrong, but my current boss scares me. He threatens me and scares me so bad, I'm afraid I can't even go back to work and I'm going to lose my job. And he said, I don't know why I'm so afraid of my boss. He has been very nice to me and he's always treated me well. And yet I have this terrifying feeling every time I see him. So he said, I think it doesn't have to do with my current life. Now, Michael did not particularly believe in reincarnation, but he said, okay, I'm willing to do a past life regression. So we did. And in his life, he saw himself as a Black slave running from the owner of the plantation that he's attempting to escape. And dogs are chasing him, men are chasing him, and they chase him up to a brick wall. Now, during this time, Michael is having great anxiety. He's starting to sweat, his heart rate goes up, his voice is shaking. But I say, hang in there. We're going to get through this. We're going to find out what this is about. Well, what happened then is they caught up to him at the brick wall and they hung him. And what Michael was able to see is that the man that hung him, the man that was chasing him, was the owner of the plantation, and the owner of him as a slave was also his current boss. And when Michael realized this and saw it, he realized that this man was no longer a threat in his current life, that he was safe. And he went on to continue through his death into a beautiful afterlife after death. And he was at peace. Not all past life regressions have to do that are this frightening. But what happened with Michael was amazing because he called me the next day and he said, I went to work with absolutely no fear. That's one of the benefits. Life changes for the better. You can have a past life memory in a number of ways. Through formal induction, like I did with Michael. A spiritually transformative experience, which is known in short as an STE. And that is an experience where a person doesn't die, but they actually go into a blissful other realm of great understanding and realization. One can have a past life memory in a deep meditation, especially if that is part of the goal, in a state of transcendental bliss. In my workshop, I have a process called Getting a Truth. And for many people, this is a state of transcendental bliss, where there's great understanding and wisdom and joy in connecting with one's true self. One can have a past life memory in a dream or a spontaneous trigger, like in nature or a new environment that you've never been before. You might travel someplace and all of a sudden you're recognizing the places, buildings, what happened, feelings, strangers. I'll tell you the story of Diane, who knew me from a childhood vision. Diane also came to me, completed my workshop. She called me and she had not met me and she had heard about me and wanted to do some work with me. And so when she came into my office, and she didn't tell me until years later when they were connected with her, and she said, when I was a child, I saw your face. And when I walked into your office that day, I recognized you. So these kinds of experiences are amazing and tell us of secrets that perhaps can be revealed to us. Do this one simple thing today. Close your eyes. Imagine yourself living in full harmony and peace within yourself. No doubts, no fears, no overwhelm, no anxiety, no depression. Imagine that. Imagine being in that state. And decide to actively seek and experience a healing in your past and your life. Now, let's do a past life regression. Thank you for joining me in this presentation. I hope that it's revealed to you some things and it has stimulated some more questions that maybe I can help answer for you. So perhaps be seeing you soon.